There is low visibility on the CY15 budgets for the IT sector. In fact, we also have HCL Tech that just came out with some comments a while back. So let's invite Vineet Nayyar, who is the Executive Vice Chairman of Tech Mahindra, to discuss all these issues. Mr. Nayyar, good morning and thank you so much for joining us. Before anything, just a while back we heard from HCL Tech where they pointed out that there will be an adverse impact of more than 200 basis points on their dollar revenues because of the dollar strength. Can you give us an indication of how the dollar strength could impact your own financials?
Well, it's going to impact everyone almost uniformly because dollar has strengthened. But, I mean, if we measure it in the dollar currency, yes, you will see an optical fall. If you measure it in any other currency, you may not see that fall. That doesn't mean that the business per se has gone down. It only means as reflected in a particular currency, it is somewhat lower. Therefore, it doesn't bother me. As long as I continue to get business, I do 99% of my work globally. These crosswinds will come, but the business is still growing. So I would not be perturbed about a fall merely because one currency has gone up.
In any case, sir, what percentage of your business is in non-dollar currencies?
Well, it's about 50%.
Okay. Well, you were saying so long as the overall business pie is not disturbed, you wouldn't worry. Is that overall pie also getting a little under a cloud? We heard from a couple of banks that this year they're not going to declare IT budgets up front and only spend as it comes. No discretionary budgets from a couple of banks. It's not as if they've confirmed it to us, but there is very strong indication. Have you heard anything from your clients indicating that some of them may not have budgetary discretionary budgets up front?
Well, I mean, if the business is under pressure, you will always have that. But I think what we need to look at is the more fundamental changes which are occurring in the technology scene. Business as we knew it is undergoing a transformation. Will it happen overnight? No. But increasingly, the labor-intensive nature of the business may be coming down because of increased automation, the work through the cloud, and all these factors will decrease the traditional work which we have been doing. Does that mean overall IT work will come down? I don't think so, because new areas are opening up. The Internet of Things, connected devices, will increase the nature of the business. Then, as a defensive strategy, some of us are expanding the zone of where we were operating on. Take us in the telecom sector. From pure OSS, BSS, we have moved right down to the networking level. So, there are multiple ways in which all the IT industry will be managing to forge ahead, because net the demand is going to grow. The nature of fulfilling that demand may change. Okay. And I think that is where the challenge is with the management. So, how quickly they are able to adopt to changing demand, changing scenario, and how quickly is our technology manpower going to change themselves to meet the new needs and to handle the growing obsolescence.
So what is your visibility on next year's IT budgets, Mr. Nayyar? Will it be in line with the last year, you think, or has the momentum clearly slackened?
No, as I told you, some things are dying, other roots are growing. So what will come out in the wash is not quite clear, because we are living in a hugely changing times. But on the long term, because I don't view life in terms of quarters. I view it somewhat a longer time span. In the long term, I think that it looks good. I think the Indian IT industry will be able to meet the challenge. We will be able to retain our primacy. For what's going to happen to next year, I would not hazard a guess.
If you can give us some guidance for next year itself, because both TCS and Cognizant revised their outlook lower for the near future. Would you concur with that for your company as well?
Listen, mercifully and for very good reasons, we do not give guidance.
No, I'm asking you for a qualitative statement.
For a qualitative statement, yes. I mean, if you take the currency headwind, for example, that itself is having, as you know, an impact. But as I told you earlier, for very good reasons, I ignore that because I think the quantum of the work is remaining the same. What I make in dollars may be somewhat lower, but what I make in rupees may be somewhat higher. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Are you, there are some companies which are investing in digital. Some people are seeing more in engineering services. TCS is apparently getting more business from continental Europe. What would be your, countervailing or compensating area of business if this slowdown happened in BFSI?
Yeah, I think, look, for us, BFSI is important but not critical because it is not as large a proportion of our revenue as it is for TCS. But I think the two areas we are focusing on, you said that out aloud, namely engineering and on the telecom side. And clearly on telecom side, digital is becoming very important as it is for other sectors. So our focus is going to be on, as I said, engineering, telecom, and the digital part of our world which is growing and which is in every sector.
Okay. The sharp fall that we've seen in crude oil prices is quite disconcerting for many energy companies, Mr. Nayyar. And the view is that, it will have a big bearing on the spending plans for next year. Would you be worried about that entire pocket and the fact that discretionary spending could be lower because of that?
Without a shadow of doubt. Without a shadow of doubt, it is going to impact hugely because the fall is dramatic. Absolutely traumatic, which has happened. I don't believe we have seen this kind of a fall earlier. So it is going to be very unsettling. But that's life. We have learned to live with uncertainty, and that is where I believe our strength is.
Okay. Well, this jitter that may come from the BFSI space would take the Indian IT industry how long to adjust to with countervailing factors? Can this last for 1 or 2 quarters?
BFSI could last for more than 1 or 2 quarters, but if you have noticed, Indian IT industry is pretty agile. Okay. So they will get into other areas, they will grow other areas, they will discard certain areas, and net I'm still pretty optimistic about the capability of Indian industry to meet this and other challenge.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Nayyar, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on what the IT sector is going through.